always
Yeah.
be polite and say please and
Oh,
thank you.
there are no rules anymore.
Yeah, but it's crazy. There aren't any rules at all.
I've said this.
Okay.
But they think we're short.
And I actually mean it, that there is no law in this country anymore. They're
Yeah.
lawyers, and all they do is generate paper. I mean, the files like grow
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
But it's always an issue of fact when you
Right.
get through, and then the judge says, settle the case. There's piles of paper everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you remember how much prints would have cost back in those days?
Do what?
How much prints would have cost as a
Yes, I
purebred?
know exactly what, I paid $125 for that.
Wow.
That's a lot for a
It
Dalmatian.
doesn't sound like that much.
But I mean, that was back in the
I know.
60s, right?
And that was back in, what would you say?
67 maybe?
It would have
66?
been before John was
67, I think.
Early '67. Yeah.
Yeah.
born. That's a pretty penny for a dog at that.
Well, that was, I thought, a good price for a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, because today, when I bought Kyla, that was in 86. It was in France too, that was $500. And then
Well, Luna cost us.
Lost
what,
Luna cost us
400?
300. 400?
She's not even a purebred. That's just the fee you pay for adoption because they take care of all the
Oh, yeah.
shots and
Oh,
things
yeah.
like that.
And before we got Luna, I looked into the cost for a golden retriever, and it was like $1,500
Well,
or something.
they shed a lot.
Oh, do they?
Yes. Well, this
Well,
one.
this one sheds.
you've
My brother
seen
John gave
there
us
already.
that vacuum cleaner right there.
Oh,
Runs on autopilot, runs around and does yeah.
Roomba.
It's
Sometimes we have it going every day because it depends on how hot it is. She
Yeah.
sheds very frequently. That's the only, other than her hyperactivity, that's really the only downside is that shedding. But
It's funny, the dogs will kind of ignore it too. They'll be lying here and all of a sudden the Roomba comes up and bumps into them and they'll look like that and kind of scurry away. And but
they are so cute, and they're cute together. The big black lab and the little
well, I don't
baby
know
chihuahua.
how, yeah.
He walks them together.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
yeah.
Your
I think it's
mother,
funny.
your mother came out to the house, we had an Indian Hill. I don't know where she was. We had a little, like, basket. And in the basket was one of these chihuahuas. And we would buy, my wife liked little dogs. I didn't care for the little dogs. But anyway, and I always thought the chihuahuas were the dumbest dogs I ever had.
She's a little.
Something I found out like 2 years ago,
Well,
Yeah, you told me that because I really like those little dogs. We had King
Yeah.
Kong and
Cassie's
Snoopy. And,
adorable. This little one in here, she just cuddle her and hold her.
no,
and I remember,
your mother went over to pet the dog, this little chihuahua. He's about that.
Bit her?
big. He bit her. Yeah, he bit her right in the hand.
well, that was which one?
That was
was
the
the
one.
biter.
Hey Charlie, can you look?
Um,
You don't need to move it.
Snoopy and
just make
what
sure
was
it's
the
still
bird's
running.
name?
You did, huh?
Are we still being
Yeah.
recorded?
Because
Green light is flashing.
yeah, because what happened for some reason I don't like this camera, but it'll stop for some reason.
You're
And so
recording
you'll see
somewhere?
there'll be a big white bar across the back. You'll see that.
But
It's,
when we would go away on vacation, we had this guy. He was gay. He was a gay guy.
He died of AIDS, didn't he?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
but he was the breeder for chihuahuas. And all
This is
of
when
North
you're
Shore
right.
had bred chihuahuas.
Okay.
And he would take these chihuahuas. We had 3 or 4 of them at one time.
oh my gosh!
Running around the house, these
Oh,
chihuahuas.
wow. They're loud too. They're yappers, right?
These guys didn't yap.
Okay. Okay.
Definite Napoleon complex, though.
Well, it would drive. It's gotten so much better. The problem's pretty much gone away now. But when they first got here, it was driving me nuts because this dog would always bark at me. It was the only one I got barked at.
Then you're talking about Cassie.
Yeah, I couldn't walk across anywhere in the house. As soon as she'd see me, she'd start yapping, and it just gets drives you nuts. That's why you're afraid to walk anywhere in your house because the dog's gonna start yapping. And you're like, I live here, you know me. I can get it for the first, right. I get it for the first week or two, right? But we know each other. I'm walking you, I'm feeding you, and everything. And so we tried a bunch of things. We squirt guns
We tried water gun, just kind of squirting and that.
sledgehammer.
He tried a Nerf gun, and one of the Nerf guns hit her eye, and so we decided we wouldn't do the Nerf gun, so we tried the water gun.
Now,
And
you
now
know
he
it works
picks
for
her up.
cats anyway. I don't know about for dogs. Those little air cleaners.
Oh wow, that's
Air
a
one.
great idea.
Compressed air.
Where were you when we needed you?
We actually bought a little teacup poodle that became, like a member of the family. But our neighbors got, and Normie was, I don't know, maybe this big, neighbors were German, and from Germany, and
Yeah.
they bought a Great Dane, and they had it as a puppy. Well, our little dog, it was this big,
He fit in the baseball cap.
scared the hell out of this Great Dane when
Oh,
it was
wow.
a puppy,
Oh.
and that like translated into like this puppy, this Great Dane's adult. So this massive dog, like even when it was like 2 years old,
Charlie?
at the sight of this little teacup poodle, it would go running.
We're all down here,
So
Charlie.
this big old dog is scared of the little poodle.
It was frightened to death.
Wow.
That's funny.
And,
Well,
and the German, like the owner of the dog, was like so embarrassed, like that he hated the dog in part because my dog would terrorize him.
that's hilarious. Well, you also had those two Saint Bernards living next door to you.
Oh, we had, this guy was he must have had a lot of, he lived with his mother,
Okay.
and they owned a chemical company.
Seabon, right?
Zebon, yeah. I got their oil paintings.
You still have those?
Oh, yeah. And his mother was an artist, but they were very, very wealthy people, and they had a house. They didn't do anything to the house. I mean, something would break like a window, they just leave it broken. I mean, it was crazy.
That's crazy.
But he
Well,
Well, that's the way it is in Wilmette. You know, a lot
yeah.
of slum.
There was a
Yeah,
crazy
he-
guy behind us that was kind of like that too.
Well, yeah, Louis Demo, he was worth like 40 or 50 million dollars. He had this, well, anyway,
Yeah,
He's
was
poor
he the
guy.
one with the maid found his little
Oh, yeah,
collection in the
yeah,
basement?
yeah.
Uh-oh.
He found what now?
The maid. We had the same maid, and he apparently had a collection of adult movies in his basement.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And
nice.
she
He was the connoisseur, huh?
Yeah, well, anyway, this guy, this Seabon guy, he had a big yard, but it was parallel to my yard, but we had about an 8-foot fence that separated us. And he had his garage, was all set up for these dogs. And he had 2 Saint Bernards, massive dogs, and a giant Pyrenees, that big white dog.
Oh yeah.
And they'd run around these yards, and of course, you guys were little, and you scared the death out of these dogs.
Well, they
barked at the
slobbered on
fence.
us.
What?
They slobbered all over us once. I don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
Bob jumped over into the yard,
Uh-oh.
and the dogs came.
It's like
up
an
to him.
episode of Sandlot.
Yeah.
You seen that?
Yeah, it was exactly like that. The dogs slobbered all over Bob, and he flipped out.
Those dogs, this guy paid a huge sum of money for these dogs. They were specially bred dogs. And those dogs all had
Bad hips, right?
hip dysplasia.
Oh yeah.
And
All
they-
big
and
dogs.
they would have strokes right in the yard. Yeah, and they would be like, he'd have them for 5 months and the dog had died. So anyway, he got rid of those dogs, and then one day, he comes home with a Doberman Pinscher.
Oh,
And-
wonderful.
and-
The first pit bull.
Yeah, and we had an 8-foot fence, what do you call them,
Privacy fence.
Chain link.
chain link. And that
Jumped over.
Doberman could climb up that fence, just like,
God.
like he was, like he'd be climbing
Like
a
Spider-Man, yeah.
wall. I went over to him, I said, look at, I can't remember his first name, but his name was Seabon. I said, I got little kids, my kids were, little. I said, this dog, he can't live here. He said, you really mean that? I said, yeah, absolutely. He comes over, I'm gonna shoot him. And,
What?
yeah,
Oh, you said that.
yeah, so, of course I had guns, but I had no bullets. So anyway, he said, I'll get rid of
He doesn't need to know that.
No, but
Yeah.
he said, I'll get rid of the dog. He got rid of the dog.
Wow.
Yeah. Then we had 4 Chihuahuas.
Well, first we had the.
I don't remember any of the
Schnauzer.
Chihuahuas. Yeah.
We had a-
Remember the
we had-
Schnauzers?
We had a Schnauzer,
What was its name? Biscuit.
Biscuit.
Oh, cute.
I paid a fortune for that dog. He was.
It had stones, didn't
This dog, no, I quit talking. I'm talking too much. This dog was pure white.
Okay.
Schnauzer, which was very rare. And the woman wanted a huge sum of money for him, and my wife said, oh, well, I want to get the dog. So I said, all right, so I bought the dog, and then the dog had stones. And I had him like for 5 months, and he couldn't, he was in agony. got stones. And he showed me the big stones he cut out of his thing. He said, oh, he'll be all right. So 5 months later, he had stones again. So I had 3 operations with the
Just
dog.
for stones.
Within a year and a half.
That had to be cheap.
Oh, and I said,
Oh, you know it.
I put the dog down. I said, this dog was
Yeah,
just gonna keep.
right. Luna, don't bark.
Jack,
Oh,
what are you
I
doing?
outsmarted Lisa, now I'm here.
You're what?
Yeah, smart Lisa. Now, Bob, is he still up in New York or
Lose your pill
Boston?
and
Boston?
Yeah.
Does he still do a lot of venture capital, flying
That's
over the
all he
world?
does. He's a sole venture capitalist.
I gotta think Tim and his wife really like
They love
Newport,
it.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, you should see his boat.
Oh,
Where do they live?
Newport Beach, California.
Oh, okay, so he lives in California, and then your other son, where does he live?
Boston.
Boston, okay.
Boy, I just couldn't stomach the taxes and politics and costs out there. It'd just be too much for me.
He's got this huge boat,
Mom.
but the motor went bad and
Yes.
he got 2 motors. $10,000.
Yeah.
Left the
We're going on
refrigerator door,
Sunday,
yeah.
Good thing it's only money, huh?
Jackie left the
Yeah, it's
refrigerator
so
door.
Jack, shut the refrigerator door. It's gonna start beeping.
Can you bring me a Fresca, Jack's home?
I can.
Will you?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, God, you remember a lot about our place.
Yeah.
Where are they?
You didn't stay there though. John stayed at
Oh,
our
did
house.
he? Okay.
Because
Yeah.
when he was going to Northwestern,
Yeah.
I
he
don't feel
stayed
like
at our
opening
place
them.
for about
Just bring me the whole thing then.
a week before he could go into the school. And I drove him to Northwestern.
Oh, okay.
He was at our house for a week.
Wow.
And then he stayed, because I remember taking him out to the country club and stuff. And you kids would go to his room or when he was in
Oh.
Northwestern.
Oh,
yeah.
in that frat house? Oh
yeah.
my God. That was just it was like an animal house.
That's what, I remember you told me that.
Oh. I remember having to shower there. I stayed with him one time, had a shower there, and I was like, oh my God, I'm
You
gonna.
were never gonna stay there again, right?
It's just horrible.
His fraternity was actually very tame compared to
You
mine.
should have seen his fraternity.
Oh, and you walked in, and there's this incredible smell of what is it, yeast or malt or whatever it is that you get from.
Beer.
Yeah, right. All the beer just soaked into the carpet. And it was
Yeah.
just, oh.
What happened?
Well, it's just this was a fraternity house, and they were having lots of parties and drinking lots of beer, and the beer people spilled their beer in
In
the
my
carpet.
day, if
Nobody
you
cleaned
did
it up.
that, you'd get kicked out of school at Northwestern.
Yeah, yeah.
I took Billy to Northwestern, to my fraternity house, before he started as a freshman. I said, oh, we have this beautiful fraternity house with a,
They had a motorcycle in the.
well, all right, he took,
Oh my
so
gosh.
we with this beautiful, with a grand piano and rugs.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it was all beautiful.
A fraternity house? It's like a sorority house.
Well,
In the
that's what
50s,
you
they
do.
were like that.
Wow.
We go in there, the place is trash, and there's a motorcycle leaking oil in the living room.
Oh goodness gracious.
But isn't that the perfect image for what happened in the '60s? The wheels just fell off the
Animal
cart.
House. It was just like Animal House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's weird is, do people really want to live that way? I mean, it's just.
In that
Not
dirt
me.
and filth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't live. Well, you did.
Well, that, I mean, there was all sorts of things wrong with that. But, like the showers, like when someone flushed the toilet and you were in the shower, you'd get burned.
Yeah. Well,
If someone was in the shower and you didn't like him,
yeah. That was that way at the Air Force Academy. You had as soon as you heard the flush start of the toilet, you had to immediately back away from the.
because you knew it was
You
going to get
were
really
about
hot.
to get burned if you weren't careful.
Yeah, you did kind of.
I remember when we took you to dinner. We were
At the Broadmoor.
Yeah, the Broadmoor. We were in that pink. What was it called? The pink dining room or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you went swimming,
Yeah.
and you lost your
Contacts.
Contact.
Yeah.
contact lens.
Yep. Yep.
And your mother called me up and she said, you cost me all kinds of money on.
Yeah, sure. It was clearly your fault, Uncle Bob.
What the hell did I have to do with it?
Yeah.
That's true. That is
God,
true.
and they were really expensive back then. I mean, that was.
Yeah.
They're not exactly cheap now.
Oh,
but
sure
you're
they
right,
are.
They were a lot more.
They're extremely cheap.
Hang on.
I mean, most people use daily
That's
disposables. You wear them a
that's
day and you throw them out. But these were, I think-
$400.
Yeah, for one pair.
Yeah,
No.
and we looked over the pool and everything, we could never find them.
Well, I mean, it was stupid even looking.
Yeah.
You know, you have this clear thing.
Yeah.
1 billion the size of the whole pool. And you're gonna find it.
Yeah,
Well, I think they would be structurally unsound, even if you were able to retrieve them.
If I would think, oh gosh.
What was a billionth of the size?
They would contact lens that fell into the pool.
And they were trying to find it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was trying to find it.
When I was your age, I was with your dad, and we were in Colorado. We lost his contacts in the pool.
Yeah, we went out to, I remember we went out to Garden of the Gods.
You were
is that
13.
what, did you go with us on that?
Yep.
I don't
He's
remember.
my cousin.
Yep,
He's his older
Yeah.
cousin.
Whoa.
I never, that was the only time I went there.
41.
there.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's a baby.
Now you were out in, you had a case going on
Oh.
out in San Angelo, I think it was with Mitsubishi.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
was out there for about 6 months, but our paths never crossed out there. I really liked San Angelo. I don't know if you ever had, did you go out there much or at all? Or?
No, we were the attorneys in Chicago for the MU2 Mitsubishi. And
Okay.
they seemingly crashed a lot. They were a turboprop.
Okay,
And they get into asymmetrical force.
okay.
And you know, and crash.
Yeah, right.
And I tried 2 of them. It didn't do very well, but,
Well,
Wow.
I would imagine that, you know, after a second crash, it's
Well,
kind of hard to blame it on the pilot. at
well,
that
you know,
point.
they were
One's a data point, two's a trend.
well,
Yeah, exactly.
Mitsubishi was the plane, the manufacturer that made the Zero.
Yeah, Japanese.
And the Betsy bomber, the Jap bomber in
Yeah.
World War II. So people say, isn't that the plane that brought Pearl Harbor? You know, of course it was.
It was.
It's been rebranded.
Now it's called an MU2.
But this one goes to 11.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I really liked San Angelo. That was a nice little town.
Yeah.
You know.
Luna. Luna, come here.
Holy Angel.
You're so cute. Yeah.
Yeah. San Angelo.
Yeah, that's right.
And no lick, no licking.
No licking, especially.
Yeah, St. Angelo. It's still there. You know, they quit making the plane.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know what happened, what the reason was.
Well, if it kept crashing, I
Yeah.
suspect that might have something to do
No, that was a factor.
Yeah.
Not a major one.
They had a price reduction to help offset that, but
The
it
problem with
wasn't
the
enough.
Mitsubishi
Oh my gosh, that is our old
is
house.
the
I was
pilots
looking at
that
it
were,
company.
that were using them couldn't control,
Why is it look like that? Somebody,
The plane
one
was
of the
so
kids was
fast.
shaking that.
they couldn't control it. So
Okay.
it got out of control early on in the takeoff.
Okay.
And they couldn't figure out why the damn thing was going so fast.
Yeah.
And they couldn't control it.
Well, and of course, a lot of the modern fighter jets, well, not a lot of them, all of them, it's all fly-by-wire, meaning that it's computer systems that control all the movements, and if the computer system goes out, the pilot can't control the plane because they're built intentionally to be very unstable. Because if they're unstable, they're very maneuverable.
Yeah.
And so the computer has to be making all these micro adjustments, you know, X number of times a second. And if that ever goes out, you know, you better hit the bailout button because
Really?
you can't
It's-
react.
It's gotten that sophisticated.
Yeah.
Avionics.
Yeah,
perspective
that's different, of course, for an airliner, which is just the opposite. Those things are built for excessive stability. And so,
A commercial aircraft,
yeah, right. But a fighter jet or something is built to be,
like an F-18 or something.
right, yeah, just, it's a very unstable plane.
There's Uncle George and Aunt Ellie.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Yeah. See, here he'd fallen and whacked
Who's
his
that?
head. Uncle George.
Yeah.
So
That was when I was
that's Aunt Ellie.
When's the
So
last time you were able to see
a couple years ago, and he whacked his.
I couldn't recognize him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was a very good-looking guy.
Yeah.
See, I knew him before I met Charlie,
Oh, okay.
your father. Because I took out, as I said,
Oh, Joyce. Yeah.
Joyce.
Yeah.
And when I came there, to take her out, you were living, or they were living at Tim Lowry's house,
Okay.
who he later became a partner of mine in the firm. And George and I played ping pong in that house.
Okay.
because Joyce was late getting for her date, so it was me, and we ended up playing ping pong.
Okay.
I was in a tuxedo waiting for her to
Oh,
get
that's
back.
hilarious. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then I met Charlie later. He said, "Oh, you knew my brother."
Hmm.
I'm surprised you didn't know George Fitzgerald, your mother's, Julia Fitzgerald's brother.
Gosh, I don't. Her father, George Fitzgerald, but gosh, that's
Yeah.
embarrassing.
Yeah, that's funny because they were close. I mean,
Well,
yeah. He was a big, tall guy. I never heard Charlie talk about him either. I don't know.
yeah.
My mother knew him.
Yeah. What year did he die? Do you think?
Well, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I lost track of him years ago.
It's funny. I see pictures of my my grandmother Julia, and Julia Fitzgerald. She was quite the looker in her day. She was an attractive young lady.
Well, I remember the night that Charlie, your dad, was coming to our house to pick up my sister, and I think he had a few drinks before he came, and he hit, I think the alderman of the ward in the street, and he said, I had an accident. My dad said, "Where is it?" So my car's out in the middle of the street or something. Oh God, we went down there. Yeah.
Oh.
Boy. That's a very auspicious way to show up to,
Well, my dad wouldn't get excited about that.
Oh.
Hitting an alderman?
No, he wouldn't.
I don't know, it might be considered a good thing in Chicago these days.
I got in trouble, I was in deep trouble.
yeah.
I had a special relationship with your dad. He died when I was, I guess, probably right around 8. But and when I knew him, he was always in poor health.
Yeah.
And of course, in the last years, he was like virtually hospitalized for the last 2 or 3 years of his life, wasn't he? He was just yeah, he was. But well, he just treated me really well, and he'd give me horsey rides around the apartment at the Sheridan Road high rise, and grandmother would go ape, and and
I never knew him.
yeah. Well, he died before you were born, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Yeah.
I
Well, I never
somewhat
saw my
remember
father. I-
grandma, like, I think she died when I was like 2 or 3.
Who?
Okay.
Your mother.
Yeah, you were,
She died.
1980 maybe.
she died in
80. In 80?
Yeah.
So I was 6. So I somewhat remember her.
Yeah.
I didn't
Timmy
know my
doesn't
mom's
remember
mom.
any of them. I never saw my mother. I never met her. She was dead before I met, and Ann never saw my dad because he had died before I met Ann. Yeah. Oh,
The only one I really remember was my mom's dad. That's about it.
Oh, he was a pistol. He and I didn't get along.
Yeah. Remember you told me that last year? Yeah.
No. We didn't get along at all. Yeah.
Well, as young as I was, I could definitely recognize the differences though between grandmother and grandfather. I mean, grandfather was just, nice to a fault and kind of leaned on grandmother to be the heavy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she could be the heavy.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah.
she didn't.
Oh, yeah, she was
yeah.
Irish.
Yeah, she didn't.
She ran the show.
Yeah,
She wrote all the checks.
Yeah.
He never
Right.
wrote a check.
Right.
My father. He never did. He never knew what was in the bank. He never knew anything.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, so they were. At least when I knew them, they certainly seemed like opposites.
They were.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, that was the same way that I was with Nancy Lou. I was like my mother, and she was like my father. We were kind of. She was afraid of me. I thought,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she used to tell us stories about you. She used to say, "Oh, yeah, I'd be very careful with my brother Bob because he was very protective of his stuff. He had a stamp collection. He didn't get anywhere near a stamp collection." And
You still have
He
your
was,
stamp collection?
he was a very neat and orderly, and you couldn't go in his room because he didn't want you messing anything up. And although
I
one
find that very surprising, George.
really, I was shocked, right?
Well, you saw the house, I mean, it's in good shape.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The other thing I remember Mom saying about grandma, she said to be honest, she wasn't the greatest mom in the world. She wasn't really involved, and she kind of let not the au pair, but the maid or whatever, I guess,
Yeah.
raise her, and she wasn't really an involved mom. And he said she was a much better grandmother, and she was very involved as a grandmother and everything. And she was very, very close to her mom.
Yeah, she told me they were very close, that they would talk frequently on the phone, and,
Yeah.
you know, as she got
Well,
older.
that was
kids.
later.
Yes.
Yeah, it was later.
Yes.
My mother was a very high-strung person,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
hyper.
Right. Right.
And my dad would, he wouldn't be very calm.
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why I remember this
What?
little.
Very calm, like you.
No.
I don't know why I remember this story, but we went across the street one time to was Sacred Heart Church. Was that the one across from?
Yeah,
On
right.
high rise?
It was a school, yeah,
Yeah. Well, the church there too, right?
in the basement.
Yeah, so we went to church and it was, I guess a cold day. I had a coat on. When we got in, I took the coat off, and she goes, "No!" And she had me put the coat back on. Like I was violating some big protocol, and she was very concerned about me taking the coat off. And I don't know if I was wearing a pajama top underneath or what the deal was, but she didn't. That's the way she was. There was a certain way to do things.
Yeah.
My mom was that way.
That was your grandmother?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I was like, your mom wasn't really like that.
And Nana, it's actually.
She was the opposite. She was very calm. And she did smoke, though.
Oh yeah.
She
Oh
loved to
yeah,
smoke.
yeah. So and then, so it's almost like my he was like grandmother, very, he was a no nonsense kind of guy. He was just,
Yeah.
and
Kind of how your dad was.
yeah.
Well, Charlie, when he came down to Notre Dame, we went down there, we thought, I went to Notre Dame because I got a scholarship to teach history for this history professor.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how I ended up at Notre Dame. And so I didn't realize that it was, that Hesburgh had gotten rid of, we had a guy named Dean Mannion, who actually was related to the Crows way back in Ireland in the 17th century. In fact, one of the Crows had married a Mannion. And he was the founder of the John Birch Society, which is the very conservative
Sure. Yeah.
thing. He was the dean of the law school. He was nationally known as a constitutional lawyer. Well, Hesburgh came in, and he didn't like the guy, so he fired him. He kicked him out of the law school. We got a new guy called Dean O'Meara, and he had an unfortunate condition. He was humpbacked, so we called him Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
goodness.
I wonder he appreciated that.
Did he know that was his nickname?
Well, it was.
Not until my father told him.
Oh, goodness.
So anyway,
Quasimodo,
he would get
Jetty,
up-
and Fontes.
Charlie and I come in, and he says, "I'm going to change the protocol of the law school." We had 400 students in the law school, and he said, "I'm going to change the protocol. This is not going to be as easy as you think it is." And everybody said, "Ah." Well, I got to law school after the Christmas break, and O'Meara had been there, and there were 400 students. I go to Fisher Hall, which is where I live, and the place is empty practically, and guys were drinking beer and everything. I'm like, Christ, and crying like babies and stuff, and a couple of priests up there, and they said, "You better get over to the law school and look at the posting on the board." And anyway, O'Meara flunked 200 students out of the law school. Flunked them out.
Wow.
Well, Hesburgh wouldn't let them back in.